advantage of this information.
That's great. You're safe. It's totally up to you. You're free to do whatever you want, whether it's now or you want to anytime. Get up and do whatever you like. That's what we would like for you too. Great. So I'd just like to begin again with you. So, yeah, my name is Mark Tarpinian, and my partner, business partner, and co-founder, Joe Shibu, have co-founded Joy News Network. And again, Joy News Network, the purpose of it is to ignite personal growth in you, and by growing together, create positive change in our world. And we do this by guiding you to think better and to feel better through an online Joy Study Center, through live international workshops like this one where we're here together, through global corporate consulting, and through Joy-powered products that'll be coming soon. So being your self-help, positive thinking information source, Joy News Network serves you, creating brand new you. So in the creation of brand new you, we have this topic this morning, mind over matter, thoughts creating reality. And I'll let Joes introduce himself, and then we'll get into the subject with you. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good morning. It's great honor and pleasure to meet you all here, and thank you for being here, physically and also as well as energetically. That's an important thing. That's really emphasized. You can be physically here, but of course, how much you put your energy in here, that's what we value the most. And so my name is Jose Shibu, originally from India, but living in Shanghai. And I met Mark in Shanghai like 8 years back. And that's where we aligned ourselves energetically to co-create the service that we named Joy News Network. And so since then we were working on it, and then creating whatever ways we can serve you in positive thinking and creating the life that you envision for yourself. And so here we are today, the subject, mind over matter, thoughts creating reality. So let's begin and explore on this subject matter.
So let's look at this topic together. So mind over matter, thoughts creating reality. What does this mean, and why is it important? So mind over matter, how many people, by show of hands, have heard that phrase, are familiar with it, mind over matter? Some of the people here. Mind over matter is a phrase that, as I've grown up, I'd heard used to speak about our mind being more powerful than any matter, any physical stuff. And that with our mind and its power, we can do things that the physical stuff around us cannot do, and has influence over that matter. So the mind is over the matter in that sense. And the thoughts creating reality is a suggestion that through our mind and through our thinking, we can create, as Joe's mentioned, any reality we want for ourselves and our world. So that's what we'd like to explore, and why is that important? Well, there's a universal truth that we believe that we'd love to share with you. And that universal truth, to set the stage for this topic, is that what I think and feel directly affects the quality and results of all aspects of my life. Specifically, my general mental and emotional well-being, my financial and material abundance, my physical vitality and fitness, and the quality of all my relationships. That's what we'd like to let you sit with as far as the importance that we feel of this topic. So we'd like to remind you and ourselves that our minds are incredibly powerful. Our minds are transmitters and receivers of energy. And with that power, we can actually affect physical matter with our mind, including our own bodies and our own creations. So let's explore some of the evidence for this. Has anybody heard of Dr. Masaru Emoto and his water crystal photography work?
Mhm.
Yeah? No? Anybody else? Mhm. I think,
But you know, a year later it was actually rendered not scientifically proven because it just chose 1 out of 10, and so the entire experiment is not standing.
Thanks for sharing that. I won't, I'm not here to state a case of what you want to believe, yet I can share my belief. And I understand what you stated as far as other people in the global community that I've heard. One thing I can tell you is that Dr. Emoto became a good friend of mine, a close friend. Not only because of that friendship, but I became friends because I was so inspired by the work he did in this mind over matter, thoughts creating reality, that it changed forever how I feel about the power of my mind. And it reminds me of that every time I drink a glass of water. You can make your own judgment, like anything in life, and that's the best way anyway. Yet I can share with you what it's done for me. The essence of the work is that Dr. Emoto would take a water sample. It could be this water jar, it could be a sample from somewhere in nature, and divide that sample into portions. Let's say, for instance, it's 2. And in dividing it, the experiment would be to send positive and love energy to one sample. It could be as simple as just sitting and saying, I love you. I could be saying it out loud or just thinking it. The second sample, an example that he always states in things he's published, is that it might be, you fool, I hate you, so negative energy being sent to that sample. And then portions of that sample are taken, the water's semi-frozen to start to create a crystalline structure. And under a microscope, a camera is used to take a picture of the crystalline structure. And in the case of the positive energy sample, the crystals are what as humans we would say beautiful to our eyes, gorgeous shapes. The negative energy recipient is amorphous, shapeless, what we might deem ugly to our eye. And what has struck me powerfully in reading his works translated into English, he's a Japanese gentleman, in USA, reading them in English, was that the work's been going on for all these years, and it's fairly repeatable from what I'd seen. When the energetic states are presented to these water samples, the behavior is similar. The crystals don't look exactly the same, yet in terms of their beautiful shapes in the positive energy case and the amorphous structure in the negative energy, it's consistent. Other experiments have been done where he's given blessings to one of the largest lakes in Japan called Biwako, Lake Biwa, and I was there for that 4 years ago. And there are samples from this lake taken in terms of its water quality by other scientific measurements. And there's a change before and after this blessing that's been quantified. I don't have that data with me. Yet those kinds of experiments really shook me in a positive way to say, wow, our minds are powerful. And the bigger message is, if it can affect a water sample like that, we are more than 70% water. So what are our thoughts doing to our own water and our own physiology 24 hours a day? That's the bigger message for me. And then he extended it in his work to say, let's use water as a vehicle for world peace. Let's raise our awareness that it's not only my water I'm affecting. Remember we were saying our brains are transmitters and receivers, powerful, of energy we transmit. So how I interact with you, how I think about you. I can't change your physiology unless you accept those thoughts and keep perpetuating them yourself. You're in control. Yet I have the power to influence the thoughts from a starting standpoint. So there's that water experiment work. There's also a rice experiment that you could Google, which is kind of interesting. Did you hear about that one too?
No.
This is interesting to me too. It's a different medium than water. It's rice, cooked rice. And if you Google Dr. Emoto rice experiment, you can see several people on YouTube videos that have done this rice experiment, repeated what he did, which was to take a sample of cooked rice and divide it into 3 portions. One would receive positive energy, like we were talking about with the water. The other would be receiving negative energy. And the third would be a control sample ignored. Actually ignored. Purposely ignored. So this energy transmission would be carried out daily. And I believe it might have been a few days or a week or 2-week period. The samples were observed. The positive energy recipient for the rice stayed looking fresh and pristine. The negative energy turned black. And again, you can Google and see several people have done this. And the ignored one actually was negatively affected too. I don't know how it compared with the negative energy recipient, but it was a noticeable negative
Did
degradation.
you do it yourself?
I haven't yet. Another person who's an energy worker in Southern California, who I've known for a few years, her name is Mary Hall, Mary A. Hall. You can Google her healing information as well, if you like. She's an abundance coach as well, and that's how I connected with her. She did the experiment recently herself, and she got...
Same.
Yeah, even though she's been in this work, and she knew Dr. Emoto's work and revered his work, she said, I want to do this myself. And
I want
then-
to do this myself.
Yeah,
It
I just got goosebumps when you said that, because when I Googled after she did it, I went, wow, several people have, and they posted their information. So when I start to see that pattern occur, it turns me into a believer. As I say, with anything that I will ever speak to you about, or Joe's, I can speak for Joe's, the only thing that matters is you form your own conclusion. Yet those things have permanently changed the way I think about my own thinking, my own energy, and our energy as human beings. So in the mind over matter, thoughts creating reality, this is powerful to me. Another example is in the medical community. How many people are familiar with the term placebo effect?
Joe Dispenza.
I'm sorry?
Joe Dispenza.
Oh, is that that's one of the gentlemen in What the Bleep Do We Know?
No, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he just also wrote this book, The Placebo Effect.
Oh,
And he has this meditation named the Placebo Effect.
really?
And he's a quantum physicist
Yes.
who has done 25 years of experiments with the brain. And he can actually scientifically prove that mind is over matter.
What's interesting about you sharing that with me and our friends here today is that the way I learned first about Dr. Emoto's work 10 years ago was by watching a movie in the US that you can Google as well, called What the Bleep Do We Know? And one of the speakers that's featured, there's a series of them, and Dr. Emoto's work was featured to illustrate this power of our mind, was Joe Dispenza. And he had a cool segment called Creating Your Day,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
deals with waking up in the morning and deliberately, well, we'll get into deliberate creation here as well. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Nice,
Yeah.
excellent.
And that's how I learned about Dr. Emoto's work and started reading his books, and then years after that, published a book myself and had his name in the foreword, and then later went to Japan my first time and looked him up, became friends. He passed away a couple weeks ago, and his work will be carried on, not only by us, but a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I also happened to meet him in Shanghai,
just before that.
just
That's
before
right.
that, his transition.
That's right. That's right. So he's with us now. Who knows? He lives forever. Whatever you would like to believe, his energy is going to continue to at least make the world think more about us as human beings and our power. So the placebo effect is in the medical community, even for people who are aware of it, we can restate it. Please help yourself, Mom. It's an effect where the patient in a given situation is given essentially a sugar pill or a substance that doesn't contain anything biologically active in it. Yet they don't know that. They're given this and they believe it's a drug of some sort that's going to have an effect on them. And there are numerous studies that show that miraculous healing takes place. Just in terms of their level of belief being raised that they're going to be healed. And for me, that's a huge statement about the power of our mind. Even though lots of people in the medical community may not agree or state that the mind can be used over conventional medicine as the way to heal yourself. Yet, in the medical community studies, the placebo effect have proven this. We're talking terminal illness kind of situations that have been reversed by someone believing they're going to be well. So just some more food for thought.
I'd like to share an experience here.
Please.
Like you said, reassurance at times, it changes your belief and it goes a long way. Like I was working as a flight attendant with an airline like for 7 good years. And I had this first time flyer who was anxious. And once he sat on board, he was sweaty. And by the time the aircraft took off, he had turned blue. He had turned blue and he was like, there is no oxygen, we are so up above in the sky, I'm going to die. And I told him, listen. And we would come across such cases. And I told him, listen. And all the crew, they panicked. They said, he is having cyanosis, he'll die. We need to give him oxygen. I said, nothing. I just opened the air vents for him. I said, sir, can you feel the air? There is a lot of oxygen. Just breathe. Breathe. See, everybody is breathing. There is a lot of oxygen. And he believed that. He was like, is this oxygen supply? I said, yes, the air vent is an oxygen supply for you. And trust me, he was fine within 20 minutes.
Wow, beautiful story. Yeah.
And there was a doctor who came in and he was like, at times, these reassurances, they go a long way. Because you made him believe that this is oxygen and he believed it and he's fine.
Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful. And with that reassurance that you've shared with us, imagine in a non-life-threatening situation, how often during the day, if we believe in the power of our minds to create, we have control over our thoughts. We can engage this process whenever we want. And this is fun getting into this segment. The other kind of day-to-day examples that Jose and I wanted to bring up were just how we can change the complete path of creation during a given day, depending on our thinking. We're all aware of these things, but let's say it's the weather. This is gorgeous today. Let's say it starts raining. Simple example. So many friends of mine globally will react in so many different ways. I hate the rain. What a terrible day. And as I got into this self-study 8 years ago, and working on myself and my thinking as the primary vehicle to create and change myself positively, and in my mind. So whenever it rains now, my immediate thought pattern is to go to, it creates life. It's water. It makes everything green. Wow, it's romantic. I mean, those are the thoughts that run through, and I have an umbrella. I can get a raincoat. I can do anything. So just that simple example, the prior example, people would either start feeling bad, and that would potentially negatively spiral their day down, or they would not do something as far as an appointment or an event that they had planned. And I'm not patting myself on the back, but anyone who chooses to think differently, you're off and running, and you're celebrating the rain. So completely different outcomes for the day when you talk about Joe Dispenza creating your day. From one situation about the weather, we can then go into the aspect of, say, driving your car and responding on the road, and how different responses can create different things during your day, whether you feel enraged or angry about a situation, or whether you just say, that person who just cut me off, make a story up. I don't know, maybe they're in a dire situation, maybe they had a terrible day. Let it go, no effect. Or celebrate and appreciate that you feel good, and you have time, you're giving yourself time, and you're alive and healthy. So those are real daily life examples that sound so simple, yet in the mind over matter, thoughts creating reality, they have true effect. They have true effect. So there's some work together that we can do around that Jose will guide you through.
Yeah, I think, so far we have an information about it. So to raise your belief level of thoughts creating reality, it really works somehow. But so I want to ask you, like in pairs work, especially in our JNN workshops, what we encourage is work in pairs and create your own materials that stays with you, actually, because it's your work and it's your information, it's your materials that really matters. Not that we share some information here, some great discussions here, but what actually really matters is you create something, and so you exercise it internally of your own. So the pair works is the next is, so we want to work in pairs, and the question is actually, what are some examples in your life where you can feel how your thoughts have created certain situations? So I repeat the questions. What are some examples in your life where you can feel how your thoughts have created certain situations? It could be positive or negative. So I would like you to work in pairs, and so that you can come up and you can, start thinking about the situations in your own life.
You can simply have dialogue or take write
Take
notes.
notes.
Yeah.
So then we will
For a few minutes.
we'll have a discussions after that. So it will be 5 minutes for that. So you can engage in that questions. Okay, I come to you. What are some examples? What are some examples that you can find in your life, like positive and negative, so that have created some actual situations in your life?
Whether it's just going if you give so much of time,
Delightful suggestion, that's right on.
Why we do this one is actually, you go into some of the situations in your life, and so you share that flow. That's what we already envisioned that one actually. Definitely. Yeah, sure.
Because I was never right straight into school, so I was, as compared to my sister and my cousins, I was always the last one. So because in India, they have to be very academically strong, and they're not like. So I had my mom to like the first age she put me in classes because she was accounting studying. So her question to me was, will you pass? Will you pass? I don't want you to fail.
Carried away, actually.
I mean, this is the moment that we feel we feel proud of what we're doing, and I feel the real essence of JNN workshop is being carried out in a way that you really engage with this one, these materials, this information, and so it's powerful, that we feel. And so, as we come together as a group, and I would like to ask is would like to share, any stories that you felt this real connection between your thoughts and that creates your realities in some way. So I welcome anybody to share.
I can start, anyone can start.
Yeah, anybody.
Ladies first.
We just came up with 2-3 examples which were particularly related also to Korea. So some years ago, Nancy sent out a thought intensive to the universe, saying she wants to change the place and the work she's doing. And I did a similar thing. I used to work for IBM. I didn't want to work for IBM anymore. And in both our cases, we focused on the next step and what we want to do, and then within weeks or months, actually, people came to us offering proactively a new job, proactively saying, so without us even sending a CV or anything. So, and we have similar examples. So this is several years ago, and mine is like 2 or 3 years ago, and it actually worked out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dr. Emoto was with it, he would always talk about goosebumps being a sign of truth. So I just got the goosebumps big time all over. Sure, thank you.
You tell the
Congrats.
story so well.
That's so
You like how she tells your story? It's great.
Short and sweet.
Yeah,
so
powerful.
sweet. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's good. So,
Thanks.
yeah. Mohammed.
Oh yeah, when I was in school, when I was young, my family used to tell me like, you're not good in math, you're not good in... So I used to fail in math. Till one day I sat down with the teacher and he told me, you don't think about the equations the way you should think about it. And since he explained, and he told me, you're very smart. You're very, very smart. You don't know it, but you're very smart. Since he explained that to me, it was like, I'm doing everything, like I'm getting A's in math, you know, failing every year in math.
Wow.
And in one point, at some point, he told me, you're very good. And then I went to the university. The teacher used to call me the genius of the class. You're talking about I failed like 12 years in a row.
You're talking about me?
And I was getting A's in the university. For math only, because the guy was encouraging me and telling me, you're a genius, and blah, 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 you're very good with numbers. And I was like, okay.
That's super powerful
Yeah.
example. And super powerful of the extension of our effect on other human beings, which we kind of know about in daily life, but we may not focus on in our awareness, our power to produce positive results. And although my thoughts cannot change your reality, they can influence in a powerful way to direct the change. And that's what went on with Muhammad's story. Change was directed by somebody who saw the potential and helped Muhammad
Yeah.
reframe his
And
own
to
thoughts about
extension, I
himself.
think maybe also it's like if somebody have to speak in that way. I mean, you are genius. Means he has gone through that concept of sharing the positivity and through himself also. Like otherwise he won't speak out actually. You know, the genius aspect of yourself, showcasing that one or pointing out that actually. So this work is actually also about self, then also going forward to influence other people in a way that can benefit the positive change in our world. Actually, that's our purpose. One of our purpose of Jen is to ignite personal growth in you, and then by growing together, we really actually achieving is positive change in our world.
It's a great example.
Anybody else?
Mine was something to add to his, so when he spoke about his, I just added to the same thing. So, as when I was younger, I was in school and I was like the worst child in the family when it came to studying. So my mom used to wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, went to sleep at 12 o'clock in the night, study, because I was the weakest. I was compared to my sister, compared to friends, compared to family, and I was like the worst child. And there was a point in time when my mom was like, she gave up on me, she's like, I don't want to make you study anymore, because in India, education is a very strong thing. You have to study, you cannot not take it lightly, you just cannot. And then in class 8, she put me in external classes, because she gave up, she's like, I don't have the patience anymore. And I don't know what happened, maybe the teacher was really nice, or maybe the group study helped, maybe, seeing other children weaker than me helped. I don't know what helped, but something helped that, it's the graph started going up. So class 8, class 9, now class 10 is supposed to be a very big thing in India. I remember my mom, so their board exams, and my mom asked me, will you pass? I really hope you pass, I don't want you to repeat a year. And there I come out with my results with a distinction. And she was stunned. Come class 12, another distinction. I turned out to be the 3rd in my college. I remember my sister was in Dubai and she was like, what do you want? I said, I just want to study more. Go for it. I don't want to come to Dubai and work right now, I just want to study more.
That's awesome.
And then come class 15, that's when you graduate, and another distinction. And then after that, my mom was like, right, now what? I'm like, I still want to study more, I want to go abroad and do my master's. And she sent me to London, so I go to London, study there for 2 years, and it all went well. Life carried on since then, because that was like the last post-graduation I've had. I've not studied more. But, it's just one of those things that shake you up and say, no matter from class 1 to class 7, I was really bad. I was like a disgrace to family. But then, I don't know when it changed. It's more telling yourself that you can do it. And even now, when my family looks back, I am like the most educated.
So did you, just
Very
adding to that
unexpected.
one, like in that moment, did you actually positively or in any way, do you remember that you have sent a signal to yourself, actually, to the thoughts that this is going to be good and I'm
I
going to
think
be
it
good?
was when I saw the pride in my family that they are happy for me to study. So although it was a bit of a negative push from them initially that you're really bad. But then when I saw the positivity that whatever they did was for my good, and I think that was more of a motivation that yes, I want to do it and I want to do it even more. And in a way to change the negative approach towards me in the positive, that there's nothing that a person cannot do. If you really want to do it,
Yes,
you can just
you
do
can
it.
do it.
Thank you for stating it so beautifully, and the
So
ask,
the age really doesn't matter. I mean, I was just a teenager at that time, but it's the focus that matters, I think.
That's huge what you described, and the technique that you could label it various ways, but the technique that I've heard the term used to describe what you did in a general sense is reframing. You not only directed the positive change in yourself, but you chose to look back at what occurred and you reframed it. You put a different frame around it to give it a different meaning, and you use that as positive fuel, joyful fuel to propel yourself forward. But then you never have to look back at and feel bad about it. You feel good now. That's huge, and it works.
And I knew that was one part of my life I will carry with me for the rest of my life as an example to my own children in the future. So I don't want, I would never want my children to look back and say, oh mom, you did not. You weren't educated while you want to educate us. And such thing can happen. So it was like a reframe that I said, no, I'm going to come out of this, put myself into this, and set an example for not only family, but for the future generations as well.
It's a great personal stories you've shared. Thank you. And I get inspired. I can tell you, listening to you, regardless of what Joe's and I share, and I get inspired every day working with this guy as a buddy and all yoga, my first yoga instructor in so many ways. Listening to you, as Joe said, we're here for you, but thank you. You continue to raise my level of inspiration and belief in this sharing, so thanks. It's great. What I'd like to do, I'd love to listen to stories all day together. I'll move on just to go through another exercise with you so you can eat lunch as well after. Yeah. So what we've been sharing about with thoughts creating reality, there are terms for this that are used by people in writings and speakings that we think may be useful as you hear about this subject. You want to delve in further, and particularly with the work with Joy News Network, with JNN. Thoughts creating reality can also be known as law of attraction. Have people heard that term used?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was,
We just
that's
discussed
Speaking
that.
about it.
We just discussed that.
So law of attraction, and it's termed law for what I believe is a powerful reason. Again, we stated our belief up front that what I think and feel affects directly all aspects of my life. Well, the law, part of the law of attraction, says that like attracts like in terms of thoughts. And if our thoughts are things, are energy, then whatever we think about, we become most of the time. There's a gentleman named Earl Nightingale who's historically known to have come up with a quote called "The Strangest Secret." And it's a paraphrasing of law of attraction, and it's simple. It's we become what we think about most of the time. And there's the focus aspect you were alluding to, most of the time. Fleeting thoughts, things we don't give energy to, repetitively informed habit, probably not going to have much effect at all on us. The things we do focus on most of the time are what we become. And I'd like to extend that a little further in a guidance sense. One of our friends was saying, hey, what are ways we can work with this now to our benefit? And that's the exercise we're going to get into. Beyond the thinking, there's thoughts and there's feelings, and they work together, as we all know. Yet, extending, we become what we think about most of the time, we'd like to extend it more powerfully to say, we become what we feel about what we think about most of the time. We become what we feel about what we think about most of the time. It's the feeling place that has the power. It's the feeling place that carries the intense energy of creation. It's the feeling place that's really the root of a lot of our thinking patterns that have been perpetuated and have created neural pathways in our brain and in our heart that become our habits. So if that's the case, that we become what we feel about what we think about most of the time, let's look at a couple examples, again, practical evidence. So what does that mean? Let's take a subject of money and finances. It's very simple. We had a discussion yesterday with the relationship with money. I could say myself to you with total conviction, I want lots of money. I really, really want lots of money. And I could say it with passion, yet if you then ask me, Mark, how do you feel about money? How does that make you feel when you say it? If I describe the feeling sense, if it's anything related to fear, negativity, also carry a belief that I want lots of money, yet money's bad. I want lots of money, yet I don't know if I'm good enough to create that. Then the feeling place I'm at is not aligned with bringing in lots of money. It's misaligned completely. Yet that's how we can operate within ourselves for things we say we want. So it's getting to that feeling place. So we're talking about thoughts creating reality. Well, the exciting good news power that I feel is that we can use our mind to reprogram these pathways and these neural pathways, these habits, from a heart perspective. We have this tool, we can engage it to create whatever we want. So from law of attraction, the strangest secret, we can take it into deliberate creation. And that's really, as Joe's was speaking about earlier, what we'd like to facilitate and guide with the work with JNN. Feeling better and continuing to feel better forever, perpetually. There's no ceiling. Yet, okay, great, I feel wonderful, what do I do with it? And it's creating what you want. That's a series of goals that never ends either. Yet, if we feel good, we almost are not attached to whether that goal occurs or not, because we already feel good. And we live most of our journey feeling better and better, instead of waiting for this event to occur that we wanted and have a spike of joy, but then the rest of the time being not so good, and then another spike the other way. Is I'd suggest it's a lot more fun ride since I've been doing this self-work. Wow. It's beautiful, and I'm no different than anybody else. Anybody can do this. If they don't need to, if they choose to, it's an amazing ride, and the results are there. It's practical. So that's why we love this subject, and we'd like to do another exercise with you related to that.
Yeah, another exercise is actually when you talk about the choosing feeling better thoughts. That's a segment we say, because we have the time limit, so we don't go into details actually. So the pair work we ask you to do is actually, how can you change your thinking? How can you change your thinking to serve you better? So the question is, how can you change your thinking to serve you better in achieving your goals and dreams? So before I present you some tools, I want you to engage on your own way to find some tools.
And it's
methods.
if you go back to what Joe's mentioned, the core of the core that I feel, the application side is you have to apply it.
Yeah.
It's choosing better feeling thoughts.
Yeah.
So there's the thought feeling, choosing better feeling thoughts. And that being repeated is the practice. So serving you better to create what you want is what things can you do practically
To change your thinking.
and it could be from a physical perspective, it could be from a pure thought perspective. Anything that you think of, you could do to change your thinking and have better feeling thoughts to create what you want. That's the pair work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just see what you come up.
Yeah.
We have some ideas, but we want to see.
Yeah.
what
We
you-
would love to hear them.
We can take even 1 minute on it if you want to do the pairs work, just to see.
Yeah.
Just like, if you're, another way to think about it is, if you're not feeling good, and that could be from feeling terrible to feeling.
But you know it's not good, like cheesecake.
If you feel good about it, if you feel good about it, you feel guilty, you're probably not gonna serve you. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, there's no right or wrong, it's
Yeah.
just a, it's a, just a fun example on that is some authors and speakers that I love to study myself, currently and in the past, talk about an example of a husband and wife. The husband's passed. Abraham Hicks is the reference for the material. So Jerry Hicks passed, but when he was in his body, he and his wife Esther had dinner with a friend of theirs in San Francisco, so the story goes, who was a model, and she'd eat 2 huge plates of entree, and then she'd go for a couple desserts. And Esther's, you know, we would say as humans, she's in good shape as a lady, but she looked at her girlfriend and said, "You realize after watching you work until we can't be friends now." She says, "How do you do this?" And she says, her friend says, "Food is my friend." That's the thought that she carried. That's the thought that she carried. That's a better feeling thought with the same person eating the same quantity. And I believe this physiologically. The body will process it very differently. So that's where I joke, but really it depends how. I love sweets. I eat tons of sweets.
We are going to the gym.
I used to make a diet with 2 chocolate bars a day. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that's good.
But I was eating before that tons of chocolate.
Yeah. So that's it, and you may not say it relates directly to creating what you want, but it could be feeling better, but ultimately it's to feel good about what you want to create that's important to you.
Retail therapy for women always helps.
Weekend.
That's like last weekend. I trust me. I know I did that last week.
Okay.
RT.
Okay.
RT. Yeah, so if you want to take a couple minutes and just share ideas like that, we can, yeah,
That's
you
okay.
guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sharing anything.
No, okay. I'd like to
So I don't share.
ask you if you were like, yeah, if you wish. I mean, no.
If you like.
Yeah, if you like, really.
Okay, so which one?
Yeah.
Your lists, either or both of your lists, or just.
Yeah, I was just saying that I do have I wrote to myself a list of 100 things that really make me happy, like small things. And when I'm having a bad day or when something is not going the way it should, then I consciously go back to that and do something on that list to just make it better a little bit. So this is a tool I always use to
Okay, great.
just shift a little bit things that
Yeah.
happen.
Okay, that's a great one actually.
Like what's on the list that's not so private?
No, it's yeah, as I was saying, it's like the smell of coffee or going to bed in freshly washed sheets or things like that, or rewatch a favorite movie or
Okay,
things like that. So just the tool I use.
that's a great one.
Yeah. And then the other list you had is powerful too, I feel. Relates to what we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody have bucket list, but I can take mine very seriously. I have a bucket list of things I want to achieve, and I know that when things I get a little bit lost and things get a bit overwhelming and I just lost focus, I go back to it and I choose something that I need to do now. So it just put me back on track on the things I'm trying to do.
Beautiful.
I would like to share, I know you have time.
We want to hear your...
Yeah, we want to
Your
hear your
tools.
house.
Yes.
House, yeah, so great. So, let's sit straight and then, go for a practical one. We'll begin with the practical one.
This is one tool.
Yeah, there's a one tool actually. So, changing the physiology to sit straight, to breathe, simply. And then, let's see, just close your eyes. It's not a long one. Take a deep breath. Feel the breath through the nose, to the back of the mouth, into your lungs. Feel as gentle as it is. To feel the flow of life. Now, as you bring your attention at this moment of time, and thinking of that thought, how are you feeling having that thought in your mind? Does it make you feel good? If not, consciously just change to something that is good, that makes you feel good. And believing in your own power to shift to your thoughts, like you are taking a fresh, new breath. Feel that vibrational alignment of your breath to your new thoughts, and that makes you feel good. And feel the deep sense of gratitude for this moment. And gently open your eyes. Okay, this exercise is actually, I just want to observe your own thoughts at points of time. Like you can do it anytime, anywhere. And if you just close the eyes and see, there will be a primary thought that always in your mind. And that you can shift it also if that is not aligned with the feeling that you really set on the course of the day. And that is what I was speaking here also in the discussions actually. When you wake up, you set the feeling, tone of the day, of your life. And if you feel good while waking up in the morning, and acknowledge that one, admit that one, and that means you're boosting that energy by acknowledging and admitting that. And if you not feel good, actually, don't check for the reasons that you don't feel good, but shift it into these questions. How do I want to feel today? And so that will present you the options. Yeah, I want to feel good. That will set the tone for the feeling good day.
I love it, Joe's. The morning practice for me is phenomenal. And that's I look forward to that the minute I open my eyes, and even before my eyes open, as I feel myself start to wake up. As Joe said, gently open your eyes. My body starts to move a little. I have a series of tools I go through that's I can't even call it routine. Everything feels routine. But it's a series of tools that set the tone for my day that I could use any point of the day, as Joe said. Yet doing it first thing in the morning launches me off in a new feeling direction that I can tell you I create magnificent things with my day. Rather than waking up and having a very good day, I can have stellar days, one after another, in terms of moving in the direction that I want to and feeling great. Simple tools. So what are some other suggestions? Joe's took us to just a brief breathing meditation. We can stop and breathe deeply pretty much anytime, anywhere. It doesn't have to be a long meditation. It doesn't even have to be with your eyes closed. You can do it when you're driving. You can do it in the office. in certain situations. You can do it anywhere. Deep breathing for me, 15 minutes a day for me, is something that nearly every day I use as a clearing mechanism and an awareness mechanism. And it's powerful. And it also has physiological benefits that I've read about that are like the placebo effect, in a sense. They're that powerful. I've heard, again, miraculous stories from people curing things just from deep breathing, 15 minutes a day. That's also through Joe's and my work as a student is in yoga. He's taught me that the breath is, certainly one of the most important elements. It's our union with ourselves. Yoga's union. We're connecting with ourselves through the breath, as he just took us through. So the other element that I love, my favorite tool, is appreciation. Sounds simple, but in wherever I am, if I want to fork into a better feeling place, appreciation takes me there immediately. Anything. If somebody's in the worst state, just to start with, I'm alive. If you're feeling wonderful because there's no ceiling, wow, how much better can I feel? And then if I look for things I appreciate, it keeps taking me up in this upward spiral. And that can be employed anywhere. And that's one of the tools starting my day that I choose to actively think about. And I say out loud, I actually speak it out loud. I have so much to appreciate in my life. And I start to list the things out loud. You could write them, you could just think about them. There's no recipe, but engaging your physiology in the act of writing, engaging your physiology in speaking, is even more powerful and will form deeper neural pathways for patterns. Physiology changes besides breathing, simply smiling and laughing. When I don't see somebody smile, I put a pattern on myself that says, thank you for reminding me to smile. I used to look at it and think, wow, bummer, why aren't they smiling? And I said to myself, how does that make me feel? And who am I to even profess how they should think and feel? That's none of my business, right? Yet, I can say thank you for reminding me to smile. And it works. It's a funny little mind game that works. And now that's my pattern. And you feel better immediately from a situation that you might not have, at first glance seen something very positive in. And then to take the smile into laughter is really powerful. And a gentleman who's in the U.S., one of the only people in history, I believe, who's been elected to both houses of Congress in the U.S., 2 different states. It wasn't both houses of Congress. He was a congressman in one of the houses, but from 2 different states in the U.S. His name is Ed Foreman. You can look up his material if you like. Ed, F-O-R-E-M-A-N. He teaches courses after having been a successful congressman and successful in various businesses that I believe were construction and energy related. He gives seminars on how to have a good day every day to people globally, but based in the U.S. And one of the things he prescribes is deep, belly laughter, even if you don't have something that you think is immediately funny. And I've started most every day in the morning. That's one of my morning routines. I just start laughing. It feels a little crazy at first, but it's fun. And you start laughing, again, there's a lot of medical evidence that proves the positive physiological impact on the body. It's wonderful. And once you start, you almost can't stop laughing. And he says, do it twice a day for 15 seconds. So that's another, these sound so simple, they're powerful, and they're habits, and they work. And to go further into what we have for suggestions, that's one of the cores of our service work with JNN. You can go to our website, which is easy to remember. It's joynewsnetwork.com. And there's a Joy Study Center where you can invest time regularly improving yourself, studying online at our Joy Study Center. There's a website revision coming out that's going to enhance what we have. It's going to explicitly be called Joy Study Center. Right now you see a Feeling Better menu. But that's all there for you to look at categories of things like appreciation, and you'll see other recommendations there. But please enjoy the material. And it's a self-study approach as your best life coach.
And also subscribing to the email newsletter, so we'll also send you some of these email newsletters and so that guidance of feeling better.
Bless you.
Sorry.
That's good.
Plus,
Sorry.
so, yeah,
That's good.
that's
Yeah.
your work and work play.
Yeah, so just wondered, how did people feel? Do you feel like this was a significant benefit to you, this work together today? Yeah? Great, great. Very happy. You're welcome. Thanks. It's a pleasure being together. Super pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.